Understand something. Plain and simple. To me, Abigail was a delicious poison. An intoxicating, overwhelming poison. Yowie wowie! That felt good! Yowie wowie. Let me in. Yowie wowie!
What's up, everyone? Welcome to this edition of Abby's Window. And as you all know, I don't have to remind people of this. It's Wyndham's birthday today. So happy birthday, Wyndham, from me. Jodie, as always, we have you here. I know you want to share some birthday thoughts.
Oh, well, obviously everybody wants to say happy birthday to Wyndham. He's a wonderful man, and I hope that, he has an awesome day. And I did send him a message this morning and said, hope your birthday is as awesome as you are.
That's awesome. That is great. So yeah, happy birthday, and I'm seeing it in the chat. Happy birthday, Wyndham. Your fans all across the globe want to wish you a happy birthday and hope you have a great day and have had a great day and wish you many more years of health and wealth on this earth. So,
And you're still
absolutely,
young. Don't forget that.
that's right. That's right. So, wanted to start off the show that way, and I want to welcome in some folks, and we'll get started because we got a lot to talk about. Besides Wyndham's birthday,
Right.
we got a lot to talk about this week. So, let's go. James Grant, Odin's Son, Erase Your Mind, Sean Suslowitz, Brittany K, Alicia P, James Grant. I think I said your name already, but it's all good. Jason Peace, Brandon Wayne Lewis, Shane Loki, Dalton Riley, Big Dan, Paul Healy, Annette Morris, Nicole, what's up? James Chadwick, Robert Morris, Charles Smith. Yeah,
Got a
yeah,
good crowd.
good crowd to start out the show.
Good
Um,
crowd for Wyndham's birthday.
that's right. That's right. A good crowd for Wyndham's birthday. Before we get to Wyndham news, we start off this show every week with a little segment called Caleb's Corner. So I'm going to turn it over to Jody because I know she has some things to share.
Well, he's hitting back on the road at the end of May. He's going to be in Illinois for a couple of dates. And at the Summer Camp Music Festival, and then he added a date on the 28th in Crystal Lake, Illinois, which, Caleb, if you see a really big dude in a hockey mask, run. Then he moves on and is doing some of the Bat Experience shows, one on June 11th, which I will be at, and then goes back with his own band on the 18th of June in Silverados in Black Mountain, North Carolina. I will be at that too, and I'm sure he's going to be, posting more dates along the way. He did make a tiny announcement, kind of a teaser announcement, that he was going to be making a big announcement this upcoming week, and put a bunch of British flags next to it. So since I'm already going home, England is home for me in the summer. What are the odds if he ends up in England the same time that I do? That would be really strange. But yeah, I would imagine that. I don't know. He has, looks like he in his tour, he has a pretty big break between, June, July-ish. So I don't know.
Who knows what will happen
It's possible that we end up in England at the same time.
at the same darn time?
And you know what? if it happens that way, I'm going. I can't. How? Come on now.
You gotta go.
Yeah. So I think a UK trip is in the works for him, and I don't know if he's ever been or not, but he'll love it. People, yeah. England is well, the United Kingdom in general is beautiful. So I'm excited for him
That's awesome.
to go explore.
And I know you had something else that you wanted to share.
So I was not expecting to meet him on his birthday because that was not a pre-planned meet and greet like the one on the 11th is. So I didn't bring him a birthday present because I wasn't expecting to meet him. So I finished making his birthday present that I'm going to give to him on the 11th. And I wanted to show it to you guys. Now, I'm not an artist at all, so it's not the best. But I did put a lot of heart into it. And, my hope is that it is as special to him as he is to me. So I made him this. So it's a frame with a picture of him and Meatloaf. And I know Meatloaf meant a lot to him. So, and it's a lyric from Phantom of the Opera, which I know he's a musical fan, and Phantom of the Opera is my favorite. So yeah, it took a long time to trace all those letters and color them and outline them. And yeah. So I'm going to give that to him on the 11th when I see him.
That's awesome.
And I hope he likes it.
I'm sure he will. I'm sure he will. That is awesome. That yeah, a lot of people commending you in the chat, saying good job on that. So yeah, that's a very, very nice gift. People are talking about the weather in the chat. Is it hot in Indiana?
No, I think he's talking about the weather in England.
Well, I'm asking if it's hot there because it's been hot here.
Oh, it was. I think now it's like in the 50s. Indiana's bipolar this time of year.
Gotcha.
So it'll be 80 something degrees one day, and then it'll be 50 something degrees the next day. No wonder people up here have so many allergies because the weather goes like this all the damn time. In the summer and the middle of winter it doesn't, but yeah. So right now it is, what is it right now? 67.
Okay, not too bad. Not too bad.
And it's, there's not very many clouds in the sky, so it's actually a good night for a bonfire.
There you go. There you go.
But then, Wednesday it's going to be up to 83, and then Friday it's back down to 68, and then the next week it's up to 90. That's
roller coaster of weather.
Roller coaster of Indiana weather. That's
there you
it.
Go. There you go. Well, before we get into all of this news that we have to talk about with Windham and Matt Hardy making some comments on his podcast, wanted to share some photos here. These photos of Brittany Kay with one Adam Shear and C3 at the Control Your Narrative event. So we wanted to show those.
He looks like a really fun dude to hang out with.
Yes. I gotta say this. I wish I had the confidence to pull off the hairdo that Adam is rocking right now.
Yeah, I dig it. That's awesome. But yeah, he seems like he'd be a fun guy to have some drinks with. So does Windham too, but
yeah,
I know that she had a great time.
Well, that's good.
Very sweet of him to invite her out there, and I know it meant a lot to her.
Yes. So we're happy to show those photos, and we know that Brittany had a great time, so that's what it's all about. So
yeah,
it's good stuff. It's good stuff. So we got a lot to talk about. Now I'm gonna ask Joe. I'm gonna put Jodie on the spot here, and I'm gonna ask her. Do you want to talk about the tweet first? Wyndham's tweet. Let's talk about Wyndham's tweet. Why not? So, yeah, this one was out of nowhere. It says, "Don't lock up don't you lock up something that you wanted to see fly. And this is from Chris Cornell of Soundgarden.
Hmm.
Uh, now, there it's interesting.
It's deep.
I got to get your thoughts.
I mean, obviously, Chris Cornell is an icon. Um, and that's, I mean, you could take that quote in a lot of different ways. Um, you can equate that to struggling with mental health and it locking you up when you want to fly away. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Um, because, mental health can be a big, not burden, but a big weight. Um, that can shut you down a little bit. Um, I mean, instantly your knee jerk reaction is, hey Chaz, your knee jerk reaction is, oh, it's about WWE holding him back.
Hmm.
Um, I don't. I'm not taking that quote at face value. Um, I think it means something a little deeper than that. I don't exactly know what, but
But you don't think it's surface level?
Wyndham is not surface level ever.
Not at all.
When
No.
has when have any of his tweets ever meant what they said?
Well, Big Dan brings up a
Deeper meaning.
yeah, always. Big Dan brings up a good point. Could that tweet be a reference to Sasha and Naomi and their ongoing situation? Could be a tweet of support, maybe. Who knows?
Maybe. Yeah, definitely could be. Um, Wyndham is I think it probably has several meanings because
Yeah.
Wyndham is cryptic like that. It probably means 10 different things to him. He just I love that he just comes out with these one-liners and we're just all sitting there going, "Huh. What does
Gets
that
us,
mean?"
gets us talking. Gets us talking. Um, let's see. James Grant saying maybe it could be a hint of the next pay-per-view, Hell in a Cell, where people get locked inside a cell, or it could be about the Sasha and Naomi situation.
Could be a lot of things.
Could be a lot of things.
But
And
that was my knee-jerk reaction that he was referring to something that happened to him.
okay. Okay. Yeah. Butterspark saying there's without a doubt, without a
I
deeper
think he meant
meaning.
to say without a
Yeah,
doubt.
without a doubt. I corrected it in real time and then I corrected myself again. There's without a doubt deeper meaning because Chris Cornell most always had really deep lyrics with multiple meanings.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. So we're not the only ones talking about Wyndham. Um, Matt Hardy on Extreme Matt Hardy, I think is what it's called. I've got it on the graphic, but he made some comments. Um,
By the way, speaking of Chris Cornell, go to
yeah.
Caleb Johnson's YouTube channel and watch him sing a cover of "Say Hello to Heaven."
Oh, there you
It's
go.
beautiful.
There you go. Um, Matt Hardy spoke on Bray, and several different quotes in here that I found interesting that I wanted us to kind of dig into and talk about today because yeah, there was a lot of interesting stuff, and I don't know how many people had a chance to listen to it. Um, did you have a chance to listen?
I didn't because I was in the hospital on
Yeah.
Thursday and Friday and Saturday. Um, and I don't remember much of my hospital stay because they were giving me Dilaudid every 2 hours. So I really didn't have a chance to listen to it.
And I didn't expect you to listen to it. I wanted to make sure that you didn't listen to it, that you were resting.
I'm
But
still trying to pass this dang kidney stone.
there you go. There you go. Well, I don't know how many people in the chat got to listen to it. I listened to a little bit of it. I didn't get a chance to finish it, but fascinating, fascinating stuff. And I want to start here. Um, this is what he said in terms of Windham being seen as a top guy in WWE. And the podcast is Extreme Life of Matt Hardy. So if you want to,
I love Matt. I
yeah,
really do.
absolutely. So go give that a listen. But the quote is, because ultimately Vince didn't see him as such. If you're a guy like, Undertaker, you're going to be treated differently when you're older, obviously. Someone like John Cena, obviously Roman Reigns is the tippy top guy. Then you're going to have other guys who like cycle in and out of those things. Cesaro got close there at the end. You had times where Braun Strowman was up and down. I find this a very, very interesting quote because, I mean, he's a top guy, right?
Obviously, like Matt said, Vince didn't see him that way. We do because we love him. And we enjoy, his ability and his character work. And we definitely see those parallels between him and the Undertaker. And, at the end of the day, the people that are popular, not necessarily with the fans, Vince is going to push who he wants to push. That's why, I think the fans had such a hard time, staying with Roman when he was a face, because it felt like he was, ramming him down our throats. You are going to like this guy. And it didn't work with him as a face, but now as a heel, people are into it and people like it. But, for us that see Windham as he deserves to be that tip top guy, it all comes down to the man in charge. And if he doesn't see him that way, then he won't get booked that way.
Yeah.
Unfortunately.
Yeah.
You're a victim of the machine.
There's I think there are very few people who can be at the top of that mountain. I think, in my humble opinion, that he's one of the people that can be there, if you get behind him.
Mm-hmm.
And that's all he needs is just someone to get behind him. The merch sales and everything else tell that story.
Yeah.
Your top merch seller, obviously that year, I mean, this was a trivia question on this channel, for goodness sakes. But he main evented or was included in how many pay-per-views that one year? It was like 6 or
Yeah.
some insane number. So I mean, obviously,
I think he deserved a lot of credit from the powers that be, that he carried WWE throughout the pandemic. Like, when they had the ability to do those cinematic matches because they didn't have an audience, and they really grasped onto it. And, Wyndham carried them through that because his character was just, yes, he's great in front of fans, obviously, but that character was made for cinematography. And getting all those cinematic matches throughout the pandemic when they had no fans. I mean, imagine if he wasn't there. It would be totally different. Like, they owe a lot to him for that.
Very true. Very true. And that
He kind of ushered in that cinematic style back into WWE again.
James Chadwick saying if Triple H was in charge, then he probably would have been the top guy.
Maybe.
Probably true. Big Dan saying Vince has a type for top guys that are media appearance friendly, Cena, Reigns, etc. But Wyndham is like Mick Foley in the sense of he's a top guy to people like us who appreciate creativity.
Which is funny because media appearance friendly, like, every time I've met Wyndham or talked to him, he's extremely nice. And he will spend more time with fans than, his manager's like, come on, let's get. And he will spend more time with his fans than most people.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, so I found that quote interesting from Matt because again, and I wanted to get other people's take on it too. Not just because we're like mega fans of his, but because I wanted to get people's honest opinion. Like, is he
Yeah.
a top, is he a top guy? And I mean, think the consensus of this room is absolutely.
I mean, we all know, like, even me not being a long-term wrestling watcher, a WWE watcher, we all know that Vince has a type.
Oh yeah.
And those are the types that he's going to push because those are the type he likes.
Hmm.
He, as much as he may try to be objective, some bias definitely slips in there.
For sure. Absolutely, for sure. Jason P says definitely, hell yeah, he is. He's a top guy. All right, let's go to this next quote because he talks about Wyndham being released, and let's get to this here. He says it was shocking. I mean, because he was one of the biggest merch movers they had. That's usually a pretty important part of performance longevity around there. If you're selling a lot of merch, usually that means you're making money. So it was very shocking, very disappointing. I don't even know if it was because he had re-signed the contract, it was too much. And they were just like, it's one of those things, it's very much a business now more than ever. If they have a guy that they think is making too much money, no one is expendable. And they've built the brand around WWE. Vince McMahon doesn't need any one superstar at any certain time. They really built it all around WWE. And that is what is the draw.
I
There's a
mean,
lot to unpack in this.
yeah. And yeah, he was one of the biggest merch movers. And I think he's absolutely right. I think at the end of the day, Vince sees it as a business. And, I think Wyndham's, and this is not a discredit to Wyndham at all, like his popularity increased significantly when he came back as the Fiend. Um, so I don't know, like, yeah, re-signing a contract could definitely have something to do with it. Like I don't know, maybe he was making Aaron Rodgers type money and other people weren't, and I don't know. Wyndham knows that whole story, and we don't.
Right.
But yeah, I agree with what Nicole said. He's always been very passionate, and some people don't see what he sees. Not everybody can appreciate his creativity as much as his core hardcore fans do. We obviously appreciate it, um, but it's not going to resonate with the masses, I guess. But that's one of the things that I like about him, because he's not a megastar. He's just Wyndham, and he's approachable, and you know someone like Roman Reigns isn't approachable because he's going to have 50 million people around him, and you're gonna get to see him maybe for a second.
Yeah.
Whereas Wyndham, he likes to spend decent time with the fans, especially the ones that have been there since the beginning. So,
Yeah.
but there's a story there, I'm sure, about his release and how that went down. And unless, like I said, this is all a ruse, everybody wants to hear it.
Hmm. Hmm. I thought it was interesting that he brought up the money and making too much money, because then that makes me think, was it was it a matter of trying to keep other people happy, like not create jealousy?
I think, and I think this applies to pretty much any business. You do have to think about that business side. And me being in a leadership role in a hospital, I understand that. I understand, you know, division of money and who gets paid what and how they get paid. And but people talk. I'm sure WWE is no different, and there can be a lot of drama behind, well, so and so makes more than I do and I'm not on TV more than he is, and blah 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 blah. You know what I mean? Like, some people can be very petty about that. And I don't know, maybe there was some of that going on. They felt that if they paid him more, they had to pay somebody else that was on TV more than that. And it was going to be that ladder effect, that snowball effect. And now they get into it. It's really eerily similar to what happened to nursing during the pandemic. Every hospital was so desperate for staff that they started paying this outrageous money. I mean, there were hospitals offering $120 an hour to come work in a hospital on a COVID unit. Like, it just went nuts. And every nurse like signed up for agency shifts so they could bounce around, because you're making a lot of money. And then the market kind of overflowed and everything kind of calmed down. And now all these agencies aren't paying that kind of money and people are pissed off about it. Right. So it's, but places can't afford, especially if they don't have any COVID in their building, they can't afford to pay people $120 an hour and pay everybody else too. Pay the normal staff. And then you've got people, there's animosity between agency people and, full-time staff, because agency is making more money than full-time staff. And, they're doing exactly the same amount of work.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of demand in healthcare right now, and people who work for agencies feel like they can do whatever they want. We've had people work in my building that work for agency that just walked off the job after 2 hours because they didn't like it, or they got a fight with somebody, and there's just so much drama when it comes to money. Like, money really brings out people's inner demons. It really does.
Yeah.
So there definitely could have been some of that going on.
Yeah, I mean, it could have been. I mean, I just found that a fascinating comment because, at the time, especially through the pandemic, I mean, he was, like you said earlier, he was carrying things.
Mm-hmm.
And, it was must watch because of the different things that they could do cinematically with that character. It really, really carried that time frame. So yeah, definitely.
And I think they got used to that. They got used to him doing those cinematic things, just like it happened in nursing, them getting paid all this money. And then fans came back and they were like, oh shit, now what do we do?
What do we do? Yeah.
Which is the point that I would have gone to Windham and said, how do we move this from being cinematic to working in front of an audience?
Mm-hmm.
That's where you get input from the person who has the long-term vision for this character.
Right. Yeah, I mean, it's definitely interesting to hear some of the behind the scenes, some of the thought processes behind the scenes. Let's see, I'm gonna read a couple things here. James Grant saying, my problem with the money is if Vince had a problem with Wyndham's money he was getting, why is he okay with the money he's giving Cody?
Because Vince does not put Windham on the same platform as he does Cody.
I think the Cody thing, this is just my opinion. I think the Cody thing came as a direct result of realizing that they had to do something, that they had let go of so many people and so many fan favorites that they had to do something. And Big Dan said this, I think if there's a possibility of Wyndham going back to the WWE, I think the Cody situation would do nothing but help him make that decision because of the family ties, because of the idea that, I mean, think about this. Not many people would have predicted that Cody would have ever gone back to WWE.
Yeah.
Especially given some of the things he did and said while he was in AEW.
Here's my question. Did all of the releases, did they have this in mind when they were making all of these releases? Did all of these releases free up enough money for them to get Cody? Was that their plan from the beginning? Like, we have to get Cody back. It's going to take X amount of money. So it's going to take cutting X amount of people to equal X amount of money so we can hire Cody.
Yeah. I mean, it could have been. It could have been. But I just think, it's interesting that Cody's back, because I think that could be a catalyst for him to come back. So yeah, I think that will only help. Let's see what Erase Your Mind Butter's saying. So Seth versus Cody 3 is the main event of Hell in a Cell. What if the show ends with either Cody or Seth being dragged under the cell?
That would be interesting.
That would be very, very interesting. Very interesting.
I'm looking forward to that match, actually. I think it's going to be a good one.
It's going to be good. They've had like 2 absolute bangers.
Well, and this is my first time seeing Cody in action, because I didn't watch WWE previously. So I'm really liking it. I think he's a great character. I think it's awesome.
Yeah. C Wrestling joining us. What's up, C? Saying also from a WWE point of view, they've given Cody some freedom, treated him like a top star, and it's been a huge success. Cody, when he left WWE, wasn't on that platform. Far from it. Maybe they take that gamble with Bray as well.
I would love that. He's, I think he's more than earned it. He came up with this whole Fiend story on his own, that's his baby, and I think he deserves the platform to tell that story.
B Tazzy says, "I'm just saying, watch Hell in the Cell."
Oh no.
He's We'll have to talk about that off air, because me and him talked about something not too long ago, last week, as a matter of fact. This is very interesting. Getting everyone's opinions on this. So the last one, and I say this one for last for a reason, because I feel like these comments make a lot of sense, even though it doesn't make sense that he was released. But this, to me, makes a lot of sense, because you could tell this by watching the product. So I'm going to put this quote up on the screen. This is in regards to Bray's relationship with Vince McMahon. I'm going to read this for you. It was almost like a really weird, a really strange and different duality that Vince shared with Bray, Hardy said. When he liked him or loved him, he was all about him. But when he disliked him, oh my God, it was really bad. And he would like punish him and insult him. To me, it was so strange. It was almost like a parent. There's a lot here to unpack. Your initial thoughts, Jodie?
I'm not going to say my initial thoughts, but I mean, it is almost like a parent. It's almost kind of reminds me, I am going to say my initial thought, and I'm just going to not care. It's almost that cycle of abuse. Like emotional abuse. That, and I only know that because I've been through it in my past. 1 minute they're in love with you and you walk on water and they're all about you, and the next minute they're running off to marry somebody else, and it was all your fault that they didn't end up with you. So that was my first initial thought. I actually felt really bad for Windham, because that's a very toxic relationship to be in.
Yeah.
It's a very toxic cycle to be
Now,
in, and that can do a lot of damage to someone's mental health, because when you're in that cycle of it being bad, all you want to do for that person is make it good again until it gets good again. And then you're like, okay, this is the last time it's going to happen. And then it gets bad again. So it's a very toxic relationship to be in.
and I was actually gonna bring this up, and I see Wrestling said this. So when you have someone super creative, that person has to focus. What Matt describes, I take it that Vince was trying to focus him. Maybe that way you get the very best from Wyndham. I That was my question. That was going to be my next question. Is do you think this was Vince seeing something bigger and not feeling like he was getting everything, which I think is I don't know that I can say that Wyndham didn't give his all, because I feel like he did every time. But do you think this was Vince saying, I see something bigger, let me try and pull something out?
There's a right way and a wrong way to do that. Obviously, there's more to that story than what
Yeah,
Matt said. That, probably only Wyndham and Vince know the interactions that they've had and what their relationship was like.
yeah,
Um, I'm sure Vince is a leader, and being a leader, sometimes you do have to kick your staff in the ass. Sometimes you do have to get very disciplinarian and, be the bad. Sometimes you have to be the bad cop, and that's just part of being a leader. What makes a great leader is the ability to be the bad cop without making your staff feel like a piece of garbage.
yeah.
I like to do that as a leader with positive reinforcement. So I find that then I don't have as many of those times that I need to be real firm with people, because when they're doing what's right and doing what they're supposed to be doing, I'm constantly on them, giving them positive, like, thank you so much. That was great. I loved it. You did this really well, and that, I think that's what makes a strong leader, is finding the right way to motivate your staff without making them feel like shit.
Exactly. You have to know your team enough to be able to tell. Some people you can't be like, oh, you're doing such a great job. You just got to do this, change this one little thing, and that. Some people you just got to be downright nasty with sometimes, and that's how they respond. Because I was gonna say, like, being a former athlete, I've had coaches that have done, and trainers with wrestling that have come to me in different ways. See, I'm very different. I can deal with the yelling at me and ridiculing me to a certain extent, but then when you get me like mad and hot, then you're gonna know that I'm mad and hot, and
And they're not going to get anything out of you.
when I'm mad and hot. Exactly. So, it's just like um striking that balance of knowing when to push the right buttons and how
That
to.
comes from knowing your staff.
Exactly. Exactly.
And I
And
don't really see Wyndham as that kind of person that would take you kicking him in the ass very well. Just saying.
you could see more of the positive, like, hey, let's work on this, or let's do this, or let's find a way to make this happen,
Mm-hmm.
kind of deal, like a collaborative thing.
Yep. I mean, we know that Wyndham thrives under pressure. We know that already. And I get that. But it's got to be the right kind of pressure.
Mm-hmm. James Chadwick saying there's a time to kick them in the ass, then there's a time to put your arm around the shoulder.
Yeah.
Sometimes you have to do both, but there's a right way and a wrong way to do the kicking in the tuchus. a right way and a wrong way for that. So, um, but yeah, I mean, and I know I brought this up, but oh yeah, Sean saying our coach would just have us do Oklahoma's all practice, Oklahoma drill. Oh man, oh
Jeff's like, that takes me back.
takes me back, takes me back, takes me back. Oh man, I honestly, when it came to training, like yeah, it was brutal. It was brutal.
I
I
don't know. Maybe I see it that way because I have such a big background in psych.
yeah,
So I see that a lot working in psych.
yeah. I mean, you can the mind is an astonishing thing. The brain is astonishing, but it's
It's
so
also very,
fragile.
yep, it's very delicate.
Yeah, and I mean, you can affect someone's psyche very, very. I mean, very strongly by words,
And you don't even know it.
and you don't even know it.
You can affect someone's psyche by not responding to a message. I mean,
Yeah,
unintentionally, but
but yeah, I mean, you can. So I think, um, I thought that was fascinating. Him talking about the relationship because I wanted to ask you. There were times where we would see a lot of Wyndham, and then kind of inexplicably, it was like, well, where's Wyndham this week?
mhm.
And this quote to me makes a lot of sense because it's like you could kind of tell the times that he was in good graces, and
Yeah,
then you can kind of like looking back on it now, um you could kind of see where okay, maybe things aren't as rosy. Do you get that sense now, like listening to this quote?
yeah, it definitely makes a lot of sense. And that year that he took off, maybe he was told to do that to work on himself.
I mean, it obviously worked. Whatever he did when he came back was, I mean, some of the best stuff that he's ever done.
Hmm.
Um, but again, I think you could tell certain times, even in his last run in WWE as the Fiend, and doing everything he was doing there were some up and down times there too.
Hmm. Saudi Arabia springs to mind.
Yeah. Oh,
Yeah.
yeah. Yeah, and I think that entire fiasco could have been part of the unraveling maybe of the relationship because it just didn't make
Any sense
it didn't make any sense. I
at
I
all.
mean, you want to have things make sense, and I get I get that. Let me ask you this just right off. If you had to do it all over again and you wanted to put a legend over because Goldberg is a legend. If you wanted to put him over, yeah, I know.
Sorry, instinctual reaction.
If you wanted to put him over in Saudi Arabia, even if you even if you had that same match, wouldn't you remove the title from it, or did that not make any difference because it was his first loss? I mean,
I think there was, if they really wanted him to lose and drop that belt, there would have been much better ways to do it
of course, yeah,
than him getting pinned.
yeah, yeah, and you know, and to Goldberg in Saudi Arabia,
Goldberg didn't need a belt.
he didn't need a belt. He didn't need a belt,
There
and
we know that he only wrestles twice a year, unfortunately. Um, but he didn't need the belt. There was no point to that whatsoever.
right,
if he wanted someone like the Fiend to put him over, there were other ways to do that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah.
Because basically what you did is you made this indestructible character look destructible to someone who can't wrestle.
In a matter of minutes, which was another issue that I know a lot of people take with that. So, um, yeah, yeah.
I mean, honestly, most of the time watching that match, I was more concerned about Wyndham's safety.
Safety. Yeah.
Like, I'm glad, in a way, I'm kind of glad it didn't last very long because, you know, as a healthcare professional, I was worried about him like being safe and not getting injured
Yeah.
because he should have stopped wrestling a long time ago when he almost paralyzed the Undertaker. I think that should have been your signal. Like, okay, if I keep doing this, I'm gonna hurt or kill somebody. I should probably stop.
Yeah. They should have let the Fiend versus Undertaker happen, says Odin's son.
Don't get me wrong. I loved that match with Undertaker and AJ Styles. I loved it. It was
Mhm.
poetry. I absolutely loved it. But yes, I would have loved to see that feud happen as well.
Yeah.
It just felt like the natural progression of things. Like
Mhm.
that match needed to be the climax.
Yeah.
Like the
That would
pinnacle match, the top of Mount Everest. That was it.
that would have been tremendous. Big Dan saying Undertaker should go to Vince and say, "Look, man, you need to bring Wyndham back. You screwed up royally. Future endeavoring him. You need to rectify this. He reminds me of me, and he's brilliant."
I mean, that would be nice, but
I
you can't control what other people do. Um, you can only control your own reactions to it.
yeah. I think though I remember we covered the quote that the Undertaker had, and I think that's a public way of doing that, Big
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Dan. Yeah, I think that's what he was doing there, is saying, you know,
Bray's a good dude.
he's a good dude. He's creative as all get out. He's talented. Hey, what the heck are you thinking?
Right.
Um,
Which most
see,
of us would not choose that innocent of words, but
no, no, no. See, wrestling say, do you think Undertaker would say to Vince that Bray is his never say never? Bring him back, McMahon. Oh goodness. Yeah,
I knew he was going to do that. The never say never. I knew it.
oh goodness. Erase your mind saying perfectly said. Wish that was the case. Big Dan saying it should have been a multi-person match and someone else could have eaten the pin. Bray would have been protected and Bill still would have gotten his adult diaper money. Hello, normal guy. Yeah. James says, if all this turns out to be a work, then holy shit, they got us good.
We did say that last week. There is a small part of me that feels like this could all be a work. I kind of feel the same way about not as much. Kind of feel the same way about the Sasha and Naomi thing too.
Okay.
I think it's possible. The only thing that makes me think it's probably not a work is that they removed all of their merch from the shop.
Yeah.
That's the only thing that makes me go, maybe it is legit.
Yeah, because they rarely ever.
Right.
I've not seen them do stuff like that.
Yeah.
Like that. The Fiend versus Willow. Yeah, he talked a little bit about some other things, some plans that they had where it was going to be the Broken Hardys and the Fiend and all this stuff, and yeah, that would have been. I mean, we talked about that for a while, and tried to will that into existence, because we all wanted that to come to fruition,
Oh
uh,
yeah.
for sure. Um, so yeah, we definitely wanted to see that. Um, James Grant saying we need to talk about the Hell in a Cell logo. If you zoom in, you can see the mask of the Fiend.
I think it's a stretch. It's possible. I I don't know.
Okay, see now I'm just gonna go look at it while we're
It's,
talking.
I mean, there's definitely hints of it there, and I can see where people would think that, like, oh, that kind of looks like the Fiend's face, but I don't know. I think it's a little bit too much of a stretch for me. It's, I don't know.
Yeah,
Yeah, you get what I mean? Like, okay, yeah, I can see it
I can see it.
now that somebody has said it, you can't unsee it.
You can't unsee it. Yeah,
But if you would have just looked at it naturally and not trying to look for things, you wouldn't have noticed it. But now that somebody say it, you can't
I
unsee
can't
it.
unsee it
Hmm.
at this point.
So I think it's a tiny bit of a stretch for me. Not that I wouldn't love to see him back in a ring, but I don't know.
I think I think it's very interesting. I mean, I know we'll be on a break for Hell in a Cell. We're taking a little bit of a break. Um, I know we'll be on a break, but I'm gonna be watching, and I mean, I'm interested to see, especially given some other comments that have been made. C Wrestling says I think it's light reflection and a trick of the mind, but I gotta make the video because it keeps pressure on Vince's old ass.
Well, somebody needs to.
Yeah, yeah. So yeah, so I mean, a lot of good stuff from Matt's podcast. If you haven't had a chance to check it out yet, go check it out. Um, let's see. Tazzy saying, I've never in my watching wrestling years have ever seen them put the city with the logo. They're making this big.
Hmm.
Yeah. Um, Big Dan saying, remember Jeff Jody is from the UK who gave us the Paul is dead urban legend. So expertise like that is in her DNA.
You also have to remember, being from England, I have, Tudor blood, and Henry VIII was responsible for the Protestant Reformation because he wanted a divorce. So he created a whole new religion for that.
Mm.
So stubbornness and a lot of passion is in my DNA too.
C Wrestling saying, although both Cody and Seth referenced Bray Wyatt last week on Raw.
Hmm.
James saying, it's in Chicago, so CM Punk Hell in a Cell return
Oh
confirmed.
gosh.
And that deserves a
Yowie wowie.
that deserves that, because even though he's in AEW, there are still some people who chant his name. It's like, really? It's over now. It's over. It's done. It's done. Just just be done with it. Uh,
But you know
James
what?
said,
If someday he ever goes back to WWE, all those people that kept chanting it was, I kept up the faith. I knew it.
mm-hmm. There are a lot of situations that get resolved and work out. I don't think he's ever going back.
No, I don't either. But
I think he's good where he's at, and I don't think I think he's done. All right, Jody. So another fun episode.
It always goes by
Um,
so fast.
yeah, I know, I know. Any final thoughts that you want to share with the chat before we get out of here? And
Happy birthday, Wyndham. We love you, and we'll see you soon. Well, I won't, but they will. You will.
yeah,
You will, not me.
I will. Yeah, I will.
I won't because I won't be there. But
Well, but you'll see him again.
yep,
You'll see him again. Um,
I'll be hanging out with this dude
there you go.
on
There
the
you
same
go.
day.
There you go. So yeah, yeah, thank you all for joining us. We had a really lively chat, talking about things. So um thank you all so much for joining us tonight. We will be back on Thursday for Impact Wrestling. And I say this because, I might as well live up to my gimmick of people calling me a Impact Homer. I don't care if you call me an Impact Homer. Um, it's great wrestling. It's a great show. So come out and check it out with us on Thursday night. And this Thursday, we're actually starting at 8:30. The reason we're starting at 8:30 is because I have an event at work on Thursday that goes until 7:30. And as much as I love all of you, I really need a job. So I had to postpone everything. Push everything back an hour. So my apologies for that. Um, for starting late, which is actually on time because the show starts at 8:30. But anyway, Impact is great. Check it out. If you haven't seen it in a while, I encourage you to check it out 1 week and just give it a chance. That's all I'm going to say. I'm gonna leave it there about Impact because I could go on and on about Impact. But anyway, I won't. So we're gonna end this show like we started it by saying happy birthday to Wyndham. We hope you had a great day and wish you many more. Thank you everyone for joining us. We really appreciate it. And we will see you next time for another episode of Abby's Window.